Hello yogis, Megan here with Yoga with Megan. And today we're going to do a yin practice. Having 2 blocks and a blanket would be most helpful, although definitely not required. You can use pillows instead. We're going to begin in Supta Baddha Konasana, but with a block under the shoulders. So take it long ways beneath your shoulder blades, not up and down the spine as we might do in restorative fish. And then you can begin your practice with an extra block beneath the head or a blanket or a pillow. And then as we warm up, then you can drop the block. And as you settle in, letting your breath naturally float in and out, I would like to open our practice with a reading from Melody Beattie's Journey to the Heart. And today's reading says, "You're free to open your heart. Open your heart to the people you love. Open your heart to the world. Open your heart to God, to the universe, to life and all the creatures and creations in it. Open your heart as much as you can. It's safe to open your heart now. There was a time when you believed that the only way to protect yourself was to shut down and close your heart. You have learned so much. You have learned the powers of honesty, compassion, forgiveness, and kindness. You will no longer become stuck or trapped if you open your heart. You can leave if you want to. You can say what you need to. You no longer need to protect yourself by guarding your heart with the heavy armor you wore in the past. Now, you are free. Free to open your heart. Free to open yourself to the universe. A woman I met in Sedona gave me a lovely visualization to use. Picture your heart. In front of your heart, you see a beautiful rosebud, tightly closed. Whenever you want to open your heart, picture the rose blooming, wide, beautiful, alive, and fragrant. Whenever you want to retreat, turn the rose back into a bud. Open your heart to the world, to the people who live in it. Open yourself to creation. Open your heart to yourself, to God, to life. Life will become magical, and you'll think back and smile. You will wonder why it took so long to open your heart. Open your heart as much as you choose, as much as you can. Share it with the world. I invite you to use this visualization of the rose throughout our practice tonight, allowing yourself to open accordingly. Begin closing your legs like a book. Take a moment with the soles of your feet flat on the ground. Big inhale, full exhale, and then roll to a fetal position on your right side, removing your block. And take a moment here, feeling the weight of gravity pressing you down. Very gently working your way up to a seated position with your legs out in front of you. Grab your blocks. Go ahead and sit on a blanket or a pillow if you have one. Place a block under your knees. We're going to take caterpillar pose, and that can be pretty intense on the hamstrings and the back. So prepare those props, take some neck rolls, sit up nice and tall, roll the shoulders. Just preparing yourself for this caterpillar pose. My body, the stretch is in the upper back, so I need blocks really handy to place on my shins to support my head. If your tightness is really in the hamstrings, maybe instead of sitting on a blanket, you sit on a block to really lift you up. And the bent knees are really important here too, so maybe you roll your blanket under your knees. Just kind of negotiate the props accordingly. And once you feel like you're set up in a way that supports your body, begin by rolling your chin down and then your spine, and just hinging at the hips as low as you can go. If you're really open and you want to just settle into a forward fold, go ahead and do that. But we're going to be here for a while, and so I don't want any stress in your body. And you might notice your breathing get more shallow in this pose because we are constricting the organs. But your work here is to maintain slow, intentional breath. Take a moment here to see if it's possible for you to get a little deeper in the pose. Maybe not, right? Maybe you try it on and it's a little too much, so you just back off. Right? We can't force the rose to bloom, merely invite it. In our opening pose, we really focused on the chest expanding, but I want you to think of this forward bend as also a heart opener. Right? The chakra is both in the front and back side of the body. So maybe shifting the rose you envision, instead of being in front of your heart, to being between your shoulder blades. And perhaps with every inhale, the rose opens just a little bit more. Slowly roll up, removing the props to the side. Coming on to all fours. Moving gently with your breath, taking 5 or 6 cat-cows with a slow, intentional breath. Or maybe it feels better for you to sway your hips side to side or barrel roll through the rib cage. Just coming into a spine reset here. Finding a neutral spine. Remove any props that are in your way. We're going to come to a child's pose with blocks beneath your hands. So this is not the same thing as puppy pose. So you want to take your child's pose and then just lift the hands. The first level on the block is typically pretty good. With each exhale, see if you can melt your heart closer to the mat. Dropping your forehead to the mat if you can. Even rolling the forehead from side to side. Wiggle your jaw. Work on removing any unnecessary tension before settling into stillness. And doing your best to not focus on your thoughts. Keeping your attention on your breath. Coming back as often as you need to the visualization of the rose opening. I notice that visualizations tend to help me stay present in my body when I want out of a pose. Even sometimes envisioning a smell, right? Recalling in my memory a scent. So maybe sticking with our rose theme, you imagine the fragrant smell of a rose. Gently removing your hands from the blocks, pushing them to the side, and pausing in your child's pose here. Pressing up onto all fours. And then we're going to just take a quick hero's pose. We're not staying too long. If you're really tight, go ahead and sit on the block. But we're not going to stay here too long, more of a transition pose. So the next pose we're moving into, we'll use the block to create a pressure point under the armpit. We'll do it on both sides, and this can be fairly intense. So as we settle in, just breathe through it. There's a lot of lymph nodes in this area, so this is really good if you feel kind of stagnant in your body, or maybe you're sick and your lymph nodes are a little swollen, or in general just for good health, right? Lymphatic flow is important. So you'll come to lay on your side with the block kind of right at the breast line for women, right where your bra might hit. And for gentlemen, right there during where that pectoral muscle is. And I want you to settle onto the block as much as possible. So you'll put your hand, your head in your hand to help cradle. And then as much as possible, relax the weight of your body into the block. And after a few breaths, kind of begin to rock forward and backward on that block. Not a big movement, very subtle, just to dig in and see where the most sensation is. And then as you settle in, you can extend your bottom arm and really lay on it. Or for a deeper stretch, you can bring your top arm overhead. So we don't want to be in extreme pain here, but we do want to be on the edge of discomfort. And every time you feel like holding your breath is when you take a deep breath, especially in a pose that you might not be used to. Very gently, just remove the block and come to lay on your side. Or if you want to go deeper, make two fists and lean on the block and place your forehead on your fists. So this is just for a few more moments, and this leaning over can be really intense. So if you need to ease off and come to just laying on your side, you do that. Work your way up to seated. And we'll come to the other side. I like to have a blanket under my elbow just to help kind of take the pressure off the weight of my body and give me a little bit of higher lift just because this is so intense for me. And same thing as the other side. Once you get settled, kind of rock forward and backward, really digging into that muscle tissue and fascia. If eagle pose, like the arms, are really difficult for you, this is a great pose to release the fascia to open that up. And if you'd like, you can bring an arm overhead, just like the other side. It's really about trying things on for size and seeing what fits. Each day, things fit differently. Each side, right, things fit differently. Keeping your thoughts present to your mat. This is your work, this stillness. If you'd like to take it deeper, just like before, you'll roll forward on the block, making two fists and putting your forehead on your fists. Or if you're ready to release, just remove the block and lay on your side. We're coming from a place of non-judgment here about what our bodies need. Moving very gently. Bring yourself up to seated, removing your blocks and your props. And just sit up nice and straight. And notice if you feel any fluid, right, rushing down your sides. Becoming aware of that lymphatic drainage. We're going to make our way to a Sphinx pose now with wide legs. So with Sphinx pose, you want your elbows just below your shoulders and your heart lifted up. And you can take your legs as wide as your mat or however feels comfortable. Make sure that your toes are all on the ground, and that your legs and your glutes are soft. And then go ahead and grab a block to place underneath your forehead or under your chin to help support your neck while we rest in this pose. Keep attention on your shoulder blades, having them pulled down and away from your ears. Again, staying present to your breath and using your inhales to expand and your exhales to settle. The goal in our Sphinx pose is to have our rib cage pulling away from the hips and then lifting up. Then gently release, placing one palm on top of the other and dropping your forehead down onto your palms. And kind of rock your hips side to side. We're going to come to half frog pose. So just bend your right knee up, It's also called, I think, sleeping pose. So you just take your knee as high as is comfortable and let your hips relax here. Really working to be as restful as possible, so forehead stays on the ground, and you can play with inching your knee higher or lower to get the desired opening. And then go ahead and switch sides. And we're doing this as a gentle warm-up to take full frog pose. So if that's not in your practice, what you'll do is you'll just, when we cue frog, you'll go back to the right side for a bit and then back to the left again. But currently we are all with our left knee bent in sleeping pose. Now coming into your full frog pose, you might want to turn long ways so that way you have the mat under both knees. But if I do that, I'll be out of the frame. So I'll just go ahead and lay down here in frog. Working to keep your feet flexed is really important. And then long-term goal is to get the knees in line with hips. And if this is utterly painful, you can always put a block under the rib cage or under the head. And every exhale, just let the hips relax. You'll feel the inner thighs start to settle. And slowly, the pelvis will drop to the ground. Recognizing this is a really intense posture. Keep an active eye on your breath, really allowing your pranayama to help ease you into opening. If you have your cheek turned to one side, tilt your head the other direction. If you still have your forehead down flat, then just stay there. And gently begin to bring your legs together, rolling your hips side to side. And pressing your way up. We're going to take one down dog here. Recognizing that downward facing dog is a resting pose. So keep a generous bend in your knees. You can pedal out through your legs if you need to. Intentionally nodding your head no and shaking your head yes. Scooping your lower belly up and in and pressing your chest towards your thighs. And this is just resetting the spine and the hips after so many openings. Staying in your breath. We won't stay here as long as the other poses, don't worry. And then dropping down onto your knees, spinning your legs around, coming onto your back. Take your blocks with you so they're handy. Pulling your knees into your chest. I want you to just make circles with your knees. Rocking side to side, just kind of whatever massage of the low back feels good to you. I like to have my head on a blanket like a pillow, but you don't have to do that. And this pose here really is about massaging the low back. And also, as we bring the knees into the belly, we are getting a bit of a massage for the organs down in the lower belly. And begin to widen your knees. And then bring them back together. Kind of rolling into the low back. A couple of more breaths here. Begin to bring the soles of your feet together. And the knees wide. You can hold on to the ankles if that helps, or to the inner thigh. So we're taking butterfly legs, but you're reclined and your legs are up. So it's almost like seated butterfly, only you're on your back. I'm just flattening out the spine here. Letting your shoulders be soft. If reaching your feet is not an option, like I said, you just grab the inside of the thighs. And then bring your knees together. Goalpost the arms, twist to the right, supine twist. I love a block between my knees in this pose because it's really about gentle opening. And as is true with any twist, there's a detoxifying opportunity here. So really hone in on deep, full inhales and exhales, getting the best benefit of the detoxifying twist. Staying mentally present on your mat, being here now, feeling the weight of gravity, helping deepen this twist for you. Removing your block, coming back to center. Bring both feet to the ground and just stay here. Become present to how the twist feels in your body even when you're done with the twist. Notice if one side feels more stretched and open. Letting all of that work you've just done settle in. And then picking up your knees, twisting to the left side. Same thing if you'd like to put a block between your knees. Settling as much as possible. Deep focus on breath. Coming back to center, removing the block. Bring your feet up just for a moment. Getting a little reverse blood flow. Legs are as straight as you'd like them to be. And then squeezing in one last big squeeze, knees into the chest. If it feels good on your neck, you can tuck your chin up and in. And then prepare for Savasana. If you have socks handy, you might put those on or grab your blanket and put it over your body. After a yin practice, the body is pretty cool, and so we want your Savasana to be comfortable. And as you settle in, I want you to recall the meditation that began our practice. You are free to open your heart. Open your heart as much as you choose, as much as you can. Share it with the world. Settle in, and I'll bring you back to your body when it's time. Gently begin to bring awareness back into your body. Start with micro movements. Gentle wiggle of the toes or fingertips. Then rolling the ankles until you're ready to come to a fetal position on the left side. Taking a couple deep breaths once you arrive there. With your eyes closed, make your way up to a seated position, sealing in the work of the practice you've just done. Sitting up nice and tall, we'll complete our practice with 3 deep breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale. Maybe you end your 3rd exhale with an Om. Bring your hands together, begin to rub your palms fast and furious, creating heat. Keep rubbing and then place the palms on your eyes, sealing your practice with warmth. Bringing your hands to heart center. Thank you for opening your heart with me. Namaste. As always, I appreciate you.